Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. This video is going to be about your TNA pay-per-view tonight and also some other news with some former TNA wrestlers and WWE wrestlers against each other. But first, I got some news on Mickie James' music career. She's commented on Josh Stewart has a new article featuring quotes from Mickie James on Newsday.com. In it, she comments on her country music career. I do want it to be a real career. She says, I want to cross over into that and take my fan base with me in the music side. It's been a slow process, a lot of work, but it's been a good work. It's just like when I broke into wrestling, still learning, still perfecting, just like I'm still learning things in the ring. And now for your Resistance Pro Wrestling, a small deadly space event in Chicago, Illinois at Teamster Auditorium, and the results courtesy of Keith Lipinski. Pre-show matches were Thunder Kitty defeating Ada Marie. Match number 2 was Chris Hall fought the Cobra to a no contest when Rhino and Louie dangerously interfered. For those that don't know, I believe this Chris Hall is Scott Hall's son. That's not confirmed yet. But anyways, the show starts off. Melanie Cruz retained the Resistance Pro Women's Championship in a 6-way dance involving Taylor Made, Nikki St. John, Sassy Stephanie, Shelly Martinez, and Serenity. Josephus Brody defeated Ace Hawkins in match number 2. Aria DeVary defeated the Soul Tushas in a quarterfinal tag title tournament. And that was match number 3. Match number 4, Robert Anthony defeated Mr. 450. Vader returned to action, defeating Jay Bradley in match number 5. Number 6, the Almighty Sheik and Stephen Walters defeated Lethal Weapon, John Schuyler, and Cedric Alexander when Chris Nowinski interfered. And his job in that company is head of the referees and security. Okay, the main event was Harry Smith, British Bulldog's son, defeating Rhino in a cage match to retain the Resistance Pro Championship. Raven was a special guest referee and turned on Rhino. And the next event is the Ring of Honor's Border Wars pay-per-view. Didn't get the guy's name. As he reported, it was an awesome time. He didn't do a head count, but he would say roughly between 800 to 1,000 people. Before it started, there was a merchandise table. He ended up getting the Summer of Punk DVD for $15. And on with the show, match number 1, Eddie Edwards defeated Rhino. Good match that got the crowd hot. There were some ECW chants, but it wasn't that loud. Rhino got a good pop, and so did Eddie. So far, the crowd was hot. After the match, Rhino looked pissed at Truth Martini because it was his fault he lost. A lot of gore chants, but Martini gave him money, so Rhino backed off. Match number 2, All Night Express and TJ Perkins defeated the Young Bucks and Mike Mundo. Good funny match and a lot of heckling toward the Young Bucks. Mike Mundo was messing up a bit, which led to the UF'd up chant. Overall fun match. Jay Lethal defeated Tommaso Ciampa with the Embassy Limited. There was a brawl before the match. Ciampa used a Section C sign, which led to the Section C side chant, Section C, the whole night. A decent match, but the crowd wasn't into it much. Not a huge fan, but Lethal fan, but he did a nice pop. Ciampa got good heat. Embassy interfered a lot, but Lethal ended up winning. Ciampa should have won, but there's nothing you can do, I guess. Decent match overall. Match number 4, Lance Storm defeated Mike the Prodigy Bennett. Jimmy Corderas was a special referee in this match, formerly of WWE, WWF. We got a huge pop for a referee. Match was pretty good for the reporter, and it did click. Crowd was real hot for Storm returning to action. A lot of you still got it chance. Storm won with a super kick and did the post-match speech. To be honest, wasn't paying too much attention, but he did he just praised us and us, the fans, and Ring of Honor. Then they had intermission. Came back with match number 5. Michael Elgin defeated Adam Cole. Great match. Elgin was super over, and his offense got such a huge pop. Cole was good too, but he got booed. Elgin won with a spinning power bomb. Martini cut a promo, and Cole super kicked him afterwards, which got a huge pop from the crowd. Match number 6, Roderick Strong defeated Finlay to retain the Ring of Honor TV title. Wow, what a disappointing match. They tried to tell the story, but the crowd wasn't into it. Flat ending, and it got no reaction. Worst match of the night. Match number 7, tag team titles are on the line. World's Greatest Tag Team defeated the Briscoe Brothers to become the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Mark came out with hockey gear, which was awesome. Such an awesome brawl, but the finish was terrible. Great spots. The World's Greatest Tag Team got the huge heat, but the finish fell flat. It was fun, but I was pissed because this means there's going to be a rematch, which means this feud continues. Match number 8. Kevin Steen defeated Davey Richards to win the ROH title. So now you have 2 title changes in one night. Awesome match with the crowd being so hot. They told a great story. And we were into every near fall. Kevin Steen threw streams at some guy with a El Generico mask, which was great. Davey healed it up and started to point the finger at us, which got great heat. When Steen hit the package pile driver, the place went nuts. Also, when Steen won, man, we went crazy. I literally jumped out of my seat. Awesome moment. Steen celebrated with Jacobs and then started to hug Steve Corino, which was cool. Overall, awesome match. Overall thoughts from the reporter. It was his first live wrestling event, and man, it was awesome. The crowd was great. Most older guys and some kids, and the event was great too. There were some great matches, and I had a great time. Ring of Honor said that they will be returning in October or November. I can't remember which, but they are going for sure. And now, what you've all been waiting for, TNA Sacrifice results. Live on pay-per-view, Orlando, Florida, at the Impact Zone. Backstage referee Earl Hebner entered Bobby Roode's locker room. Roode handed him the TNA title belt and told him to hang it up, because he's taking it back later tonight. He told Hebner to tell Hogan and RVD that as well. The opening video was shown. Earl needs the belt over 2 hours before the main event. Someone from TNA should keep an eye on Hebner to make sure he isn't pulling a Juventud Guerrero. Mike Tenay Taz introduces the show from their perch on the stage. Christy Hemme served as the ring announcer. Match number 1 right away. Samoa Joe and Magnus versus Christopher Daniels and Kazarian for the TNA titles. Tag titles change hands, and this is how it happens. Crowd cheered for Joe and Magnus as they got the better of Daniels early on. The challengers came back. Double team Magnus. Joseph Park was shown sitting in the crowd. He was also tweeting from his seat tonight. The fans chanted, "Joe!" No, not for Joseph Park. Joe hit an awesome Uranagi on Daniels at 9-minute mark. The Hills went right back to work on Magnus. Joe pulled Kazarian from the ring. The champs hit their finishing sequence on Daniels, and Magnus went over for the cover. But Kazarian recovered and pulled him out of the ring to break up the count. Nice tease. A short time later, the challengers went high-low on Magnus, and Daniels pinned him to win the match and the titles. Okay, good opening match. Figured that the tag champs were doomed once the Heels escaped their finisher. I assume this will either lead to a rematch at Slammiversary, or are we going to see AJ Styles and Kurt Angle for a former partnership later in the evening? Okay. The announcers spoke about the main event for the Perch again, and set up the video for the TNA Knockouts title match. Joseph Park tweeting again that Joe and Magnus were robbed, as he labeled it, borderline felonious. Someone is tweeting for him. There's no way Abyss spelled felonious, even with spell checks help. Match number 2, Gail Kim versus Brooke Tessmacher for the TNA Knockouts title. Gail shoved Tessmacher down to start the match. Brooke hit a quick drop kick, but Gail went on the offense for a bit. Brooke came back with a nice face plant and followed up with a top rope elbow for a near fall. Gail went for the finisher, but Brooke pushed her leg away and hit Eat Defeat instead. However, Gail fell out of the ring, so Brooke won't be able to pin her. Or wasn't able to pin her. Gail came back and pinned Brooke moments later while draping her feet over top rope with leverage for the leverage. So Gail Kim is still your Knockouts champion. And that match took only 6 minutes 50 seconds. Brooke has come a long way. Unfortunately, Gail is just plain boring. She's a talented wrestler, but she needs a stronger character, and her offense tonight was dull. I'm happy with the finish. Brooke has a good look and has really improved as a performer. I'd like to see more of her in the title picture rather than the usual Challenger of the Month format they've been going with. Backstage, Jeremy Borash interviewed Kazarian and Daniels. They had the tag strapped over their shoulders. Kazarian and AJ Styles got to the top of the TNA by whistling Dixie. They continue to taunt Styles over the photos they showed on Impact last week. Is there a reason Dixie Carter doesn't fire the Daniels and Kazarian from the storyline standpoint? I assume they will fill in the hole eventually. But it seems silly that not only haven't they been fired, but they were still given a title match when they're revealing supposedly scandalous photos of the boss. After all, I would never let Chris Shore get away with showing all those scandalous photos of me, Kate Upton, and Milas Kunis. Match number 3, Devon versus Robbie E. and Robbie T for the TNA TV title. The Robbies worked as a team early on. Devon held his own early, but then the numbers game got a bit advantage. Robbie T got on the verge of pinning Devon when Robbie E broke up the count. Robbie T eventually got upset and backed Robbie E into the corner. Devon plowed into Robbie T, who slammed into Robbie E, and Devon coiled up Robbie for the pin. Afterwards, Robbie E yelled at Devon from the ring and turned to find an angry Robbie T looking at him. Robbie E tried to leap into his arms. Robbie T looked pissed, but then he pulled Robbie E in close and gave him noogies to show that they are still buddies. Devon defeated Robbie E, and Robbie T retained the TNA TV title in 5 minutes 35 seconds. Robbie T not getting pissed at Robbie E makes perfect sense. Why ruin a friendship over a little red toy belt that nobody cares about? They showed a video package setting up Mr. Anderson versus Jeff Hardy match. Mr. Anderson walked out and did his asshole entrance speech from the stage. He's still from Green Bay, Wisconsin. His city's team is not the defending Super Bowl champions. And their rivals to the west will not be playing their home games in Los Angeles. Match number 4, Jeff Hardy versus Mr. Anderson. There was back and forth action with the crowd rooting for Hardy's early on. Anderson targeted Hardy's arm. Hardy came back with his own version of the mic check. Later, Hardy went for the whisper in the wind, but Anderson avoided it. Anderson hit the twist of fate for a near fall. So basically, they just swapped, set up finishing moves. Anderson went for the swanton at 10 minutes 25 seconds, but Hardy got his knees up. Hardy came back with his own swanton for a good near fall. Hardy and Anderson traded punches in the middle of the ring. Jeff got the better of it and tried to do a double leg drop between Anderson's legs. Anderson pushed him off, hopped on him in a pinning position, and referee Earl Hebner counted the pin even though Hardy's shoulders were up at 2. Goodness gracious, another referee screw up. Mr. Anderson pinned Jeff Hardy in 11 minutes 40 seconds. I wonder if they're going to have another rematch. Okay, since the screw up, Earl screwed Jeff. Well, that was a bad finish, regardless of whether Hebner screwed up or was it done to create controversy to set up a rematch. Hardy clearly had his shoulders up, and Hebner counted to 3 anyways. Anderson shot a couple of looks to Hebner. Announcers acknowledged that it was a bad finish. Well, Taz did. Then Tenay killed any submission of credibility he had left by saying he wasn't sure because it was so close. Both wrestlers tried hard, but we see them wrestle way too many times, and they have no storyline support. Hey, let's do it again next month. Backstage segment, Chrissy Hemme interviewing Austin Aries, who said it's not in his nature to be bullied around. He said Bully Ray measures men by size. Aries says he measures men by skill. Then they show a video recapping the end of Thursday's Impact Wrestling with Abyss telling Joseph Park to back off before he gets burned. Jeremy Borash interviewed Joseph Park in the stands. Park said he rode all the rides he could fit on at the theme park and to put over the atmosphere in the Impact Zone. Park said he didn't see the end of Impact. He said he knows his brother is close. He said he was going to sit back and watch Austin Aries kick Bully Ray's ass. He stopped short and said that there were a lot of kids in the building. So he didn't finish off by saying a double word. Crimson came to the ring for a promo. He said everyone knows that what he's capable of. He boasted about taking out Matt Morgan on Impact single-handedly and didn't even break a sweat. Then he said all he does is win. So he's got that perfection in the win column and no losses. He said no one in the back wants to fight him, and neither does any of the fans. Crimson said he went to everyone in the back and told them that he was here, undefeated, and was issuing an open challenge. Crimson called for the referee, Brian Hebner, to join him in the ring. A small "We Want Steiner" chant broke out briefly. Crimson told Hebner to ring the bell and count to 10 so he could get another check in the win column. Hebner obliged. Eric Young's music played, and Hebner's count got to 8. ODB accompanied her storyline hubby. ODB took the mic and said she's beating bigger broads than Crimson. Young said that if Crimson was good enough for her, he's good enough for him. Match number 5, Crimson versus Eric Young with ODB. Young jumped out to a fast start. Got a good reaction from the live crowd. ODB got in the ring. Crimson shoved her to the mat. EY responded by taking his shorts off to reveal bikini briefs with the American flag. Young roughed up Crimson then, but then made his mistake on checking on ODB. Crimson hit him from behind and hit his finisher for the win. That match took 4 minutes. The moral of this Mother's Day story is that women just get in the way of a man's success. Or that winners shove women to the ground. I'm not really sure which. Backstage segment, Jeremy Borash asked Bully Ray a fan's Twitter question. The fan wanted to know how Bully Ray can compete with much younger and faster Austin Aries. Ray said he doesn't do Twitter. He said that when he is on Twitter, he trends on Twitter. Ray says he's old school via MySpace and when he's online. And that's very false, because I used to be what it was in his friends list, and that's not the case. And that's also why I don't have MySpace, because I don't get any reaction from it. I love the way none of the wrestlers ever actually answer the fan Twitter questions. The MySpace line was great. Is it true MySpace is going to pay a former WWE wrestler who isn't on tonight's show a fortune to do something on their forgotten social networking service? A video set up from A-Double versus Bully Ray. And that match was up next. A-Double versus Bully Ray in a non-title match. Joseph Park was shown making his big lower lip face in the crowd. During Bully Ray's entrance, the crowd was into Aries, who took a big boot to the face and took a huge bump off the top rope and went back first into the guardrail. A few people rightfully chanted, "Holy crap." Aries had some huge welts on his back from the spot. Aries spent the next couple of minutes selling and presumably legitimate pain. But he fired up in a huge way and yelled as he went after Ray. "You're crazy," Ray said as Aries stood with his arms behind his back waiting for a chop to the chest. Ray teased another chop, but instead raked his eyes instead. Aries threw a series of kicks at Ray and then ran off the ropes. Ray grabbed him and threw him into the air and then hit a 3D-like move on the way down. Ray covered Aries, who kicked out at the last moment. Announcers played up the way Aries showed heart by kicking out no matter what Ray threw at him. Joseph Park walked to ringside. Ray shoved him down. Aries used the distraction to hit the suicide dive. Bully headed back to the ring, and Aries caught him with a missile drop kick and then followed up with a running drop kick in the corner. Aries hit the Brady Buster for the near fall. Ray came back and went for the bubble bomb, but Aries avoided it by landing on his feet. Aries applied the last chancery. Ray tapped out. Park was shown clapping at ringside. A double defeated Bully Ray by submission in 12 minutes 5 seconds. The best match of the show thus far. I like the story they told, with Aries showing great heart regardless of what Ray hit him with. I hope we see more of Aries beating heavyweight wrestlers so that he could eventually become a regular in the division. And then focus isn't on the size differential. I could have done without the painful bump. Really could have done without Joseph Park's involvement. Really, I'm ready for them to get to whatever the payoff is. Then they showed highlights from Impact of Daniels and Kazarian taunting Styles with the photos of them making out with Dixie. Excuse me. Backstage segment, Jerry Borash asked AJ Styles for his thoughts on the situation. Styles played dumb and acted like Borash was talking about his match with Kurt Angle. Styles eventually said he's not talking about photos, Kaz, Daniels, or Dixie. He said that he was there to wrestle Angle. A video set up the Styles versus Daniels and Kazarian match. The Angle versus Styles match. Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles. Today and Taz agreed that this was a wrestling purist dream match. Styles wore black gloves, presumably so he doesn't leave fingerprints on Dixie. Or maybe he's just got back from taking a few rounds at the batting cages, with big spots included. Angle doing a suplex off the ropes. Styles blasting Angle with his pain leg kick, and Styles clash in a good near fall. Angle hitting an Angle slam for a near fall. At 18 minutes 40 seconds, Angle hit the Styles clash for a near fall of his own. At 19 minutes 35 seconds, Styles hit a springboard 360 leg drop for a near fall. At 20 minutes, Styles was going for a top rope move when Daniels and Kazarian came out and interfered. Angle hit the Angle slam for another near fall. Angle applied the ankle lock and Styles tapped out. Kazarian and Daniels attacked Styles afterwards until Angle made a save. Afterwards, Angle helped Styles to get to his feet and hugged him. So, Kurt Angle defeated AJ Styles by submission in 20 minutes 35 seconds. I know I'm not supposed to rave about anything Styles and Angle do in the ring together, but I was bored for the first 10 minutes of the match. It's not the fault of the wrestlers. We've seen them wrestle one another too many times, and I don't think we've ever seen a third-hour pay-per-view match. Have no storyline support. Didn't help that everything about the pre-match setup involved Daniels and Kazarian. So I just kept waiting for the interference. Angle and Styles worked very hard. The near falls were well executed, but the fans weren't given any inventive to truly care about who won or lost. Then they showed the highlights airing of Kurt Angle hitting a moonsault on Mr. Anderson at Lockdown event. Announcer spoke about the move as one of the top 10 moments in TNA history and hyped next month's Slammiversary pay-per-view. Announcer spoke about Sacrifice main event. Backstage, Jeremy Borash interviewed Bobby Roode, who said something doesn't feel right. He was referring to not having the TNA Championship because it was hanging above the ring. Because it's a ladder match, Roode accused Hulk Hogan of trying to stack the deck against him. He said he will climb the ladders into the history books by becoming the longest reigning TNA champion in just 10 days. The video set up the main event. Assuming Rude leaves with the TNA Championship, I hope TNA books him in a title match on Impact this week to play up the possibility that someone could beat him to prevent him from breaking the record. Perhaps they could follow up with a big in-ring celebration with James Storm crashing the party in his return. Mike today ran through the tail of the tape. They actually listed the height and weight of both wrestlers and their finishers. And then went to the bullet points. Van Dam and Rude made their entrances for the main event. Borash handled the in-ring introductions for the main event. Finally, your main event, Bobby Roode, which is Bobby Roode versus RVD in a ladder match, with match number 8 in your main event. For the TNA title, there was a cool spot at 8 minutes, with RVD performing a running body scissors on Roode's abdomen and twisting him into the ladder that was set up in the corner. Van Dam put the ladder in front of Roode in the corner and kicked it into his throat. Van Dam followed up with a running kick that drove a chair into Roode. Production truck did a good job of changing camera shots at the point of impact, so it looked like he tagged him in the face with a chair when he may have hit the ladder. At 10-minute mark, a ladder tipped over and knocked Roode on the head. Roode came back with a big spine buster that drove RVD onto one of the 2 ladders that were set up in the ring. Ouch. Van Dam came back with a kick, with a monkey flip that sent Roode onto the other ladder that was leaning against the second rope turnbuckle. RVD followed up with a rolling thunder. They did a close-up of Van Dam's bloody elbow, which appeared to be swelling up. Van Dam went to the corner and played to the crowd before going for a 5-star frog splash. Roode moved out of the way and crashed onto one of the ladders at 13 minutes 40 seconds. RVD tumbled to the floor. When he tried to return to the ring, Roode drove a ladder into his gut and knocked him back to the floor. Roode set up a ladder and slowly climbed toward the title belt. RVD recovered and tried to jump from the corner onto the ladder. He landed awkwardly with his knee between the rungs, and then he twisted his knee and or ankle in about 3 different directions as he tried to reposition himself and then free his leg from between the rungs. RVD got back to his feet, climbed up the ladder behind Roode, who kicked him 3 times. Van Dam took a bump onto the ladder. Roode reached up and pulled the belt down to win the match. After the match, RVD stood up and shoved a ladder toward Roode. He tumbled out of the ring and hobbled while putting his weight on the leg. A trainer was there to check on RVD, who appeared to be legitimately injured and understandably unhappy about it. The announcers played footage of from the match. Roode celebrated in the middle of the ring with his title belt to close the live portion of the show. And then as it was going off, they showed the Slammiversary Hype video aired. And that title match took 15 minutes, 30 seconds. So, and that's the most satisfying pay-per-view I've seen in like 3 or 4 months. I've seen it from TNA in some time. The wrestlers worked very hard and put themselves through a lot of abuse before RVD suffered the injury. It's a shame that what happened there will understandably be a lot of second guessing about the decision to put him in a ladder match at this point in his career, but he did a hell of a job up to that point. It's hard to say whether they had to abort the planned finish, but Roode finally left a pay-per-view match looking strong. Overall, it was great to see TNA deliver better finishes for most of the matches. Pacing of the show was solid, and this was the best B-level, non-Big Four pay-per-view effort we've seen from TNA in some time. And for those that don't know, there could be a storyline injury to hype his leaving because he has signed some type of deal and got his name on the WWE website of some sort. So that is my guess, and that is concluding my pay-per-view results for Impact Wrestling from TNA.